So, Boris Johnson's just resigned, and is this going to put the final nail in the coffin for the housing market, or is it going to prolong this boom we've been experiencing for the last few years? So in this video, I'm going to discuss the possibilities of both. And like normal, I don't have the answers. All I'm going to do is bring you some data to give you more informed information and decision on what to do in your property journey. And we're going to give you some steps to what you possibly should be and can be doing in this environment at the moment in this uncertain time. But before we do that, the one thing you most certainly can do, which is going to give you a little reward of a bit of confetti game, ping, is hitting that like button.
Thank you. It is clearly now the will of the Parliamentary Conservative Party that there should be a new leader of that party and therefore a new Prime Minister. And I've agreed with Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of our backbench MPs, that the process of choosing that new leader should begin now. And the timetable will be announced next week. And I've today appointed a cabinet to serve, as I will, until a new leader is in place.
But look, after Boris has lost half of his cabinet, which is absolutely just amazing, really. For myself personally, I think it was a little bit of a coup and a little bit of a ploy. I think Rishi and a few of these other guys, because who's going to replace him? I think a few of these other guys thought, look, not Labour, the Conservative and the Tories lost so much confidence with all these scandals going on. They're pretty much sure I wasn't going to win the next election. So I believe a few of those guys that thought, potentially I could be Prime Minister, I'm never, even if I took over from Boris now after these scandals, I'm probably not going to be voted in unless they made a real stance. So that stance is, I'm going to resign because we don't believe in you. And it kind of gives out that perception. If you've ever read Machiavelli and The Prince or The Art of War and these old sort of political sort of like politicians moves where they play these games to be able to move themselves into power, I believe that's a power play. I don't know that for certain, but it's just my view. I believe that's a bit of a power play by these people that resigned to try and get into power, but not only into power, but with a chance of being able to win an election. If they took over Boris with all the scandals, there's absolutely no chance they're going to win an election because they was in his party. They partied with him when everybody was locked down. And yeah, basically, this, for me, in my opinion, is just a move by these. And I wouldn't be surprised if Boris was involved with it, because obviously he wants to save the Conservatives and the Tories. In my opinion, they're definitely going to lose the next election. That said, what's the alternative, especially for property investors? What is the alternative? Labour getting in power. Labour have got some really just far out there policies for property investors. Just vote winning stuff that would not work, put more pressure on the housing market, but would win them votes, and they peddle that anyway. So if you get in power, I don't think that's a great thing either. But who's going to take over Boris? Is it going to be Rishi? Who knows? Rishi had a big vote of confidence, but who knows for certain? But let's have a look at some of the stuff that could affect and not affect the property market. So soon as Boris was resigned, the pound has jumped back dramatically. So the pound and the FTSE market are both shot up as a result of his resignation. Both of them are weak against the dollar, and they've both surged against the dollar as well. Some people are saying the markets are going to be a little bit more stronger and a little bit more certainty. But then when you look at articles like this from NatWest, so in this article, it says Boris' resignation raises new risk on markets and the economy. The Prime Minister resigned on the 7th of July, has important implications for the future direction of policy, bond and FX markets and the economy as a whole. So that's what NatWest's saying. But it's so confusing. Look, this is the thing. Look, you'll go and read 10 different articles and you'll get 10 different views and opinions on them. And that's all there is views and opinion. This is why it's important to, no matter what the market is doing, making sound, solid property investments that will work in any market. In a favourable market with the governments behind you and the wind behind you, pushing it upwards. In a market where the governments are against you, you want to make these decisions. Make sure you stay to the end. I'm going to tell you what them decisions you could be making and how you can be making them, and give you some really stern steps to move forward with that. But anyway, let's get back to these controversial and contradicting opinions. So according to Housing Today, they're saying Boris's resignation leaves the industry in limbo. But what they discuss in this as well is the expectations of the imminent planning reform over the last 2 years, and the planning system and all the different plans that he had in place could grind to a halt. So he's talking about the extended right to buy, the reform of the planning and the Class E, all these different policies, these multi-generational mortgages, all these policies are potentially going to grind to halt, which again could potentially, in this article's view, could put more pressure onto the market again with the supply and demand. If home builders don't know what's going on, they're going to be like, oh, should we be building at the moment? Should we not be building at the moment? Are we going to get the planning easier? Are these policies going to change? Homeowners are going to be thinking, with the interest rates going up and the cost of living crisis, homeowners are going to be like, okay, are we going to get these benefits from these multi-generational mortgages? They really need, a lot of homeowners need some of these policies that Boris was planning to do, these right to buys and these different things. So will this compress the market even more, giving it an even tighter supply issue, forcing the banks to be a little bit more looser again on their lending, keeping the market buoyant and keeping it going forward in the right direction? As I said, I don't have the answer to this. I don't know for certain. I feel we are looking still for a bit of tightening. I feel this is not going to help. If we don't get some of these policies through what they was trying to do, it is going to still restrict it. The main reason the housing market is so expensive is a supply and demand issue. You would have heard me say this many times before, but it's a supply of not only housing stock, which we're undersupplied, it's also supply of money that come into the market. I've talked about this more in this video here, so I'm not going to go too much into it here. But there is a massive supply and demand on both sides. Lots of money at cheap value, at cheap money as well, and not many houses. So is this going to continue that? Money prices though, the cheap money is getting more expensive. Still not expensive, even at 1.25% base rate, that's still not expensive money, but it is going up, inflation's going up, and it looks like base rate will continue to rise with that. So what way is it going to drag? Is it going to drag upwards or downwards? There's an undersupply issue, but the money supply is not going to be so much there. Where is this going to go? Economic circumstances just around the world as a whole is under massive pressures at the moment because of inflation. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about it now because I have done a video here on that, but it's under a mass amounts of pressure. So there's an argument both ways, but what you want to be doing is building out an all-weather portfolio, building assets, giving you income. So if we go into recession, as long as you've got cash flow, you will survive. Cash flow is king, not your worth. So this is why I like to somebody like Debermans went into administration, even though they're worth millions and billions, whatever Debermans was worth. They was worth a lot of money with all their stores, all their stock. They was worth a hell of a lot. But it went into administration because they didn't have the cash flow coming in. So what you don't want to look at is not what your net worth is what your cash flow is. Because cash flow's king. Cash flow pays your mortgages. Cash flow pays for your teams if you've got teams, and your softwares and your running costs. So if you've got a fixed cash flow coming in, that's what's going to survive you through any markets. And the way you survive through any market is single let properties, which could be covered by housing benefits, will give you cash flow. So no matter what, and as long as they've handled the shock of base rate rises. So for example, if they've got a strong yield, and so this is a prime example for you. I've got a flat in Southend. The mortgage on it's £500 a month. It is an SA at the moment, but if that was a single let, it'd rent for £1,100 a month. If that, I'm on about 3.5%, just for an easy math as well, it's not exactly that, but 3.5% interest rate. So if that interest rate doubles, which it could do over the next period of time, that means my mortgage will double. So it means I'll have £1,000 mortgage. When I come to the end of my fixed term, I'm going to be in £1,000 mortgage, especially as well, if the asset price dips slightly, I'm going to be stuck on that fixed rate, variable rate, because I can't get another fixed rate because it's dropped below my 75% loan to value if I had it leveraged that much. And it'll leave me on a rate potentially at 7%, double what's at the moment, 7%. That's not beyond the realms of possibilities. If it does that and I'm on a single let property and my whole portfolio's properties like that, I'm in massive amounts of trouble. If I'm only renting for £1,100 a month and my mortgage is £1,000 a month, I'm going to be in trouble with my cash flow. But then you take the properties I've got up north. So the example, the property I've just bought, 77k was the purchase price. I think the mortgage is 175, but it's just for easy math. It was a little bit more than this, but for easy math, say it's 150, it doubles. Let's say it's 175 anyway, so it goes to 350 850 the mortgage. I'm renting for £700 a month, so I've got a lot of margin in there because the yields are a lot higher. But also, housing benefits cover 650 of that if that person loses their job. So I'm covered by housing benefits. Again, the property in Southend that I've got, if somebody loses their job and they're on housing benefits, it's £1,100 a month. The housing benefit only pay, I think it's £800, maybe £900 a month, but I'm pretty sure it's £800 or £850 for a 3-bedroom. So I've got a long shortfall. And again, if you've got a large portfolio, like I don't mind that on the odd ones like in Southend, because I've got a large portfolio of single let properties that are covered like that, that give me the cash flow. So the more riskier stuff, if they get into trouble, I've got the cash flow over here that protects it. And that's what you want to do, is build out an all-weather portfolio with a foundation of single-let properties that are protected from rate rises and protected from people losing their jobs. So if they went on to benefits, they'd be covered. So you've got to find them sweet spot areas that you can do that in, and the areas that give you the strong enough yields, the strong enough returns. That's why I'm a remote property investor and invest 250 miles away. I do not invest locally because that does not give me that protection. So I invest 250 miles away. And if you want to learn how to be a remote property investor, or even if you live in an area like my remote area in the northeast and you just want to learn how to find these deals, how to structure these deals, and how to build these all-weather portfolios, join me on my next up-and-coming workshop. The link will be in the bio. It's about how to invest in BRR property and live on your terms, and basically build out this all-weather portfolio. If you're still with me now, please make sure you hit that like button, smash the subscribe button if you're already not subscribed, hit the bell icon so you get notified every time we do videos like this. And please, my why is to live on my terms. My mission is to help as many people live on their terms using financial education, property education, mindset as a tool to do that. So please share this out to somebody you think will get benefit from this. And remember, if you don't evolve your ideas, you will never live on your own terms. So evolve your ideas, live on your own terms, have an amazing day.